Next slide, please. Okay. This is just explaining what I said already, the pilot study we did. It was only with 50 women. Imagine if we have found and we have material to support those women. How many women will be off unemployment? And how many women will increase the economy of the country? And how many women will be entrepreneurs? So we're gonna save lives. As they stated also that the way we did the pilot study, there were needs of high demand of training, lack of product, and lack of training fees. What we were trying to do is something we intending that once we train a woman, we give them like funds and they become independent and go do the work and continue their business. So for future, as trying to see the future of those women, the future is so bright, but we need to stand up and help them, especially that you guys are holding the Congolese women and the children's lives because of the devices that we are using. So you need to think about it. You have a cell phone, you have a computer, you have whatever device that you have. If you support one child, do you know how many children you're going to save? Next slide, please.
Sorry, Dr. Kaniki, I'm so sorry. We are way over time.
Two minutes.
I'm going to have to ask you. We're going to have to wrap it up in a minute. Thank you so much for your kind understanding.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. We have partnered with Dr. Steele. He's ready to partner with WCAA for next June, I think, in Kinshasa. So we're gonna have a workshop from 20 to 26 and 25th. So if anyone wants to join, he's welcome to join and so on. So your idea, your fund and partnership and so on will help this project, and it will save some kids, some women in Congo. Especially, don't forget, you are holding a child's life in your hand. Please stand up as advocate and act. You have all my information at the end of this. You guys can email me, you can call me, you can whatever you want to do as an advocate. I'm ready to listen to you so we can work in collaboration and networking. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was so powerful, and I think we just wanted you to go on. It's a pity that we've got such a packed schedule today, but please reach out to Magda Kaniki in chat and ask her the pressing questions that you've got. The presentation was incredible. We're going to go straight into Dr. Selena Pina Shemo's bio and lead her into her presentation. Dr. Selena has practiced clinical psychotherapy for more than 25 years. She is known for her work with children, adolescents, and families. Dr. Selena uses systematic and cognitive behavioral approaches. She has created several clinical group curriculums and speaks Cape Verdean Creole. Dr. Selena is licensed in Massachusetts and New York State. She is an expert witness in child abuse and certified anger management. She is a creative and eclectic in her clinical approach and provides in services in southeastern Massachusetts, Cambridge, Cape and Islands, and New York City. And with that, over to you, Dr. Shemo. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you. I was like, oh, I haven't heard that stuff in a long time. I have been around a long time. And needless to say, I'm happy to be here and to share this moment with you. I am also want to share my passion with you. I've been very activated by all that I've heard by everyone, and I'm so enthralled with all of the passion that you're sharing and the love for caring. So I'd like to share my passion, which has always been through my walk and my experience and my exposures in life, which have been many of the experiences you're talking about that people have gone through, have also been my gifts in my life. And they have helped me to create a passion to empower others whose voice have too, at one time, have been or continue to be silenced. So I've created lots of vehicles. I'm a best-selling author, international best-selling author. My book is 5 Keys to Emotional Oneness, the Emotional Detox System. And I've created several curriculums from this book, which I'll talk about a little bit. And also, I've created another program that I've begun in Cape Verde, West Africa, where I do hold dual citizenship, called Healing Hearts, Empowering Voices. So in Africa, they always say to me, well, people are not going to talk mental health. I said, but they'll talk emotional health. And with the right elements in place, we'll get through and open some voices. So I created a curriculum to create healing circles in various communities that can become sustainable within those communities. And I'm in the process now, but the pandemic cut me off a little bit. But I'm in the process now of creating the training for some of those leaders to take it over. So empowering hearts in healing hearts and empowering voices has touched the hearts of 100 women and about 20 men on the one period of time that we were there in Cape Verde, beginning the program. And so what happened was emotional health is not as taboo as mental health, and it's emotional health that we're talking about, right? That's the kickoff for things. So needless to say, this is not my conversation for today, but I got so activated with all the passion here. I want you to know that, yes, you save one child, you save the whole community. So let's open our eyes and open our hands and open our pockets to really looking at how do we create a global kind of entrepreneurial social environment, climate to create healing across the globe. There's so much encouragement here, so much worthiness here. So anyway, I'm not going to lose my thought, my frame of reference, but I want to say thank you, because I do believe that when we increase emotional freedom, which is what my talk is on today, ridding ourselves of emotional burdens in order to optimize emotional freedom. When we increase emotional freedom by looking at the deceptions, really looking at what's deceiving us, and we decrease the emotional toxicities, and that's by looking at the core of what are the truths and the realities within those deceptions. And what we'll get out of that is an activation of expanding our voices. So we all have entrepreneurial qualities and abilities and sustainabilities within us. It's a matter of opening our voices. Our voices, if they're contained or if they're hushed or they're not where they need to be, and the internal voice is not in place correctly, we have a hard time reaching those goals, right? So it's a matter of opening our internal voice and being able to say it loud, as the women were doing in that gender march there in the Congo, and saying their piece. And that's happening all throughout the world where women are using their voice more. But you've got to open the internal voice. We've got to make sure that that's connected. So anyway, I look forward to this journey with you today into the inner window of ridding ourselves of emotional burdens in order to optimize emotional freedom. So if I can share the screen, is that possible? Oh, I can. Look at that. So let me open this up here. And I'm so technological, not good at anything. So let me go back up here. Okay, so I want to ask you a few questions. How often do you look into your inner window with elbows on your window pane, PAIN, into the moments that shift you, change your rhythm, block your next step, stop you in your tracks, or maybe even flatline you into numbness? How often do you find yourself feeling somewhat of this? I went through this the last few days, and it was shifting and it was agonizing to be without electricity. We are so used to having too much, maybe. Um, so, how often has that in a window brought you emotions of shame, confusion, guilt, depletion, fear, fault, sadness? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I did not. Let's put on this here. Okay, here we go. Okay. These feelings that lay within us and create this kind of block, stop, and flatline for us. How often do these emotions sit on the window pane without resolve, feeling overwhelmed, feeling incapable, feeling insufficient, feeling imprisoned, feeling fearful, feeling worthless, feeling lost, empty, and maybe just not good enough? So how often, and we might say, well, no, my day goes along pretty well. Sometimes, but think about it. Think about this as we go through this process. How often does that window pane, PAIN, activations partner up to create a cultivation of burden, compounded by life's daily stressors? Just think about that for a minute. Cultivated burdens partnered with compounded daily stressors. Now, some of us get through this pretty well. Some of us get anxious. Some of us get depressed. Some of us have to get lock, stop, the flatline. But are you activating the best you? Or are you pushing out what you need to do? So let's kind of explore that a little bit. Um, when we activate these burdensome emotional intruders, which I call them in my book emotional intruders, because they come in anytime they want. We may be having a great time, and all of a sudden there's a flash of something, or there's a feeling that, oh, why am I feeling this way? Or somebody may have said something that didn't sit well, and we kind of figure out, why did that feel so different inside of me? When we activate these burdensome emotional intruders, which are connected to something maybe back there in our background, we then create emotional fragmentations, which create an overactivation in our nervous system. And I'm not going to talk very much about this because the sympathetic nervous system is another conference in itself. But just in brief, the sympathetic nervous system creates this overactivation, and it creates an activation in our limbic system of the brain, right? So in the limbic system, it's in our midbrain, which holds the amygdala and our emotional stories, what have you. But it brings us directly into fight, flight, and freeze. Now, fight, flight, and freeze is not a terrible thing because it tells us when there's a sense of danger. It tells us when there's a sense of something we need to manage or control, or we need to take care of. So, but the problem with when understanding how that all works is when you have a lot of stuff in the background, it holds all those images from 3, 4, 5 and on up. So it may attach itself to an image that has been recurring throughout your life and make a deception. And so now we become deceived by the emotion that we don't understand, and it gives us a feeling that we can't really wrap our head around. So when we activate the limbic system, because it releases this hormone called cortisol or adrenaline, we are also quickly activating that whole fight, flight, and freeze. And sometimes we get into the freeze, we get numbed. And many people who have a horrific background of trauma may become enthralled in that numbness, and that's called dissociation. So many things happen in this brain of ours and in this system. So in brief, the more we live in these burdens, whether buried or recognized, we continue to compound. Think about it. Daily stressors. We continue to compound and hold on to emotional complexities wherever they may be. I mean, if you have come through life without any complexities, please let us know. Let's talk about that. We will guarantee that if you come through these burdens, compounded complexities, you will guarantee to only activate. This is kind of sad, but to only activate a portion of what we are capable of. We will achieve fundamental proficiencies, and that we will do. But is that enough? Do we know that's enough? I've come from, through my walk in life, to not knowing that I had proficiencies, to understanding that, oh, maybe I have some gifts, to get into the place where I'm like, wow, how did I get here? So we have to be able to walk through all of this to get beyond and move forward, because when we are trying to build and grow, yes, we build and grow, but are we at the heightened, where we are heightened and where we can really rise to the occasion of who we truly are, who we authentically are, which I'll talk about a little better, what's really inside of us, and not been intoxified or intoxicated by all this other toxicity? And are we still carrying it? Where is it? How do we look at it? How do we feel it? How do we get through it? So here is what happens. Some small parts of emotional knowledge becomes unavailable. You know why? Because when we get heightened, the amygdala, the hippocampus can't contain all that information, too much information, and the IT people can't come in and say, oh, let me rework that. We have to rewire that. We have to rewire that ourselves. Our body holds the healing. We have to learn about this. Our body holds the healing. We have to rewire it and figure out all the dynamic ways that are out there today to help us do that. Stress begins to deplete the availability of true activation. It depletes it. So if you're saying, oh, my week is stressful, and you had stress, because you got things making, you got your family, or you've got a course that you have to take, or you get them all coming together, and you have to go shopping, or you have to, be social, and whatever it might be. We all deal with stress every day. It's not something that doesn't happen, but it's all about the compilation of what goes on in our life. What went on in our life, the compilation of what went on in our life. And so as it comes into the brain, it comes in and it's stirring things up. The hippocampus, who works very quickly, and the thalamus is not making any sense out of this, because it believes in what the amygdala is saying. The amygdala is saying, like, oh no, this is chaos, and the thalamus says, oh, the hippocampus says that, and the thalamus says it believes that, and the hippocampus says, I can't keep up with all this. You guys are driving me crazy. I'll just pick up the parts that I think I can hold, and I'll try to put them in the right places so you guys can find them later. So then there becomes a fleeing of consciousness. So that's what we talk about repressed memories and all those kinds of things. And many times, like in my years of going through my struggles and my abuses, there's parts of it I just can't even grab. And I know the picture, I've got the movie, but I can't find the middle. I can only find the beginning and the end. So where did that go? The other piece that happens on this emotional fragmentation is that then, if it lives too much, if we live too much in that fight, flight, and freeze, in that limbic system, other parts of our brain begins to dim. Other parts of our brain begins to dim, like our executive function in the front here. So now we're saying, wait a minute, let me think about this. But so, granted, we are doing well, and certainly life is moving forward. Are you at the height of of your innate gifts. Have you received those trinkets? Because those innate gifts are waiting for us to show up. So what we have to do, and there's some simple exercise I'm going to show you very quickly, that we have to use to bring the sympathetic response into a parasympathetic response. So the sympathetic's going up, and we want to say, no, 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 no. We got to find some place to relax so we can make sense and calm this feeling and move on to some balance and relaxation and some replenishment of what we need to do and fulfill. So let me go to the next slide. So this slide here is just giving you a few. I mean, I really believe that, as I do more and more research on healing our body, healing our mind, body, and spirit, I come across all these really, really great gifts. So heartmath.org, look it up. They have, we use this thing called the N-Wave Pro or the Inner Balance, and there's all kind of breathing exercises that you can do. And the interesting thing about Heartwave is its job is to create a coherence between the heart and the brain. So when you get sensory information coming up in, instead of going into the wrong dimension, the wrong informational system or the amygdala and causing chaos, the heart filters it and says, no, this is okay. But you have to do this stuff repetitively. This is not something that, oh, I'm feeling this way, let me do this right now. You can do it in the moment, there's no doubt. There are many exercises in the heart math that you can do in the moment. I use the heart focused breathing a lot, and that's to get coherence. The N-Wave Pro and the Inner Balance is showing you if you're actually breathing it to get coherence, if you're actually working it. And guess what the brain does? The brain says, oh, you're doing this pretty consistent. You're giving us a new message. The brain starts to make the shifts. It starts to make things different. It starts to make life a little bit easier to comprehend and get through. With all the other beautiful things that we have that we can address. So look up heart waves, and the breathing exercises are amazing. Then there's the polyvagal. You know about the polyvagal? I'm sure you do. And the polyvagal nerve is where we try to find balancing in our emotional interruptions in the moment. In the moment. So the interesting thing about the polyvagal nerve, and the Latin root of vagal is vagus, which means wandering. So it's a long nerve, and it goes from our gut, around our spine, and the organs, and it comes on up through our sensory areas and wraps around our eyes, and so there's all kinds of ways to access it. So one way to access it in the moment is to access it through deep diaphragmatic breathing. So this is the kind of funny ways to do it, right? So the Wonder Woman pose, Wonder Woman her fists are closed, and she has it sedation set on her hips, kind of. And you can find all this stuff on Google, or you find it in YouTube, or you just research it, and you can get trained in it, or you can take classes in it, which I would recommend, because we need to learn how our body keeps the score, as Bessel van der Kolk talks about. We need to know how we can hold the healing in our body in the moment. And so you put in your hands there, and you're doing this deep diaphragmatic breathing. And it's 4 in deep into your diaphragm, hold 4 and out 4. How simple as that? It takes us that long to get angry. I think maybe we can get angry shorter than that, but that's a nice way to just kind of do it 3 times a day, maybe, and just make it part of your self healing or your self-care package that you do in the moment. My moment pack, my moment self-care. So every morning, every lunch, and every dinner, and every night before bed, I'm going to do this breathing, because guess what? Our brain will say, "Oh, so this is affecting this nerve here, and it's making this body feel better. So let's make these shifts here." Here's the lazy boy pose. Just putting your fingers together, putting your hands behind your head, and you sit back and do the same breathing. 4 in deep, hold 4, 4 out. You can do it sitting on your hands, because it's running through your veins, running through there as well. So you sit on your hands and you do the same thing. 4 breaths in deep, 4 hold, and 4 out extended. So then yoga, it's the most amazing thing to do because yoga has poses that affects lots of parts of our body, right? And it does, that has poses that affects the polyvagal nerve. So look at this. Take care of yourself. You know, we put diets together. Okay, I'm going to eat this today. I'm going to do an intermittent diet. I'm going to do keto. Let's do a healing the body diet. let's look at how can I make myself, because the calmer you are, the more you can make it through a day, the more you can relax through things, the better off you are in how you're achieving what you need to achieve, because you don't have the emotional intruders coming in to upset you, because now you're taking better control. You have more clarity, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I don't want to run out of time. Then there's the butterfly breathing. You know, EMDR, which I do EMDR. It does a bilateral stimulation because the left and the right hemisphere, they talk to each other. And while you're processing something, the left and right hemisphere having these conversations like, oh, what's going on over there? So maybe this needs to come over here. Hey, let's calm this down over there. Oh, this is the feeling? Okay, well let's make better. Let's make this better. But that's another breathing exercise to look into.
Sorry, Dr. Shimo, we are running out of time. We need to wrap up as soon as possible, please. Thank you so much.
Is my time up?
Yeah, we've gone over 20 minutes. Unfortunately.
Oh my God, I haven't even started. Okay. All right. So then I won't go through this. Actually, okay. So the 5 keys that I utilize is really looking at the cycle 1 is really looking at creating your life experience and the exposures, and you'll create your inner culture, your life connections, and your tree of life. So I have curriculum that we go through all of those phases to collect all the data, map all the data, collect a profile, and then we go into the tree of life, which is your tree of authenticity, and we create what is genetic, predisposed, what was environmental, and what is authentic to you. So you can look through that. We go through cycle 2, which is all of the pre-journaling before you could even go through a detox to get through the detox so that you have all the information already encoded. And then we go through the cycle 3, which is the detox itself. And the first key is the emotional release. The second key is the healing and forgiveness. The third key is the wisdom. Fourth key is the rebirthing. And I'm sorry that I don't have time. And this is a lot more information to give you, and that was prepared. But we will maybe have another time again to do this. So I am doing some retreats, and I am doing retreats in Cape Verde in April. I'll be in St. Kitts in June, and in some other areas. Please look at me on my website, and we can have further conversations. Okay.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Selena. It was really insightful, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed the exercises. You have shared your contact information in the chat box. Thank you. And once again, anyone in the audience can reach out to her on the contact information on the screen. We're going to move on to our next speaker, who has shared her video with us. Just a very brief introduction to our next speaker. She is Councilwoman Sarita A. Smith. She is a proud Army veteran, mother, wife, small business owner, and faith leader in her community. She is committed to molding and developing future leaders of our workforce within our community and teaching values of compassionate leadership, guided by the adage that she, before running her own business, spending decades serving her country in various roles, it's now that she's answering the call to do so again. And she proudly serves as a medic in the Army for nearly a decade. Sarita is a union activist, serving as the Women's and Fair Practices Coordinator, Chief Steward, Legislative Political Coordinator, Local President, and Georgia State Council President for the largest federal government union and American Federation of Government Employees. Thank you. Over to the tech team to share the video.
Greetings, my name is Councilwoman Soretta Smith. I am a sitting council member here in the great city of Grovetown, Georgia. And I'm so honored and so excited to be here today for the Foundation Lab first annual summit, the first of many more, I am certain. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the conference host for hosting this conference and for giving me an opportunity to share. Thank you to Dr. Florence Zabwe, Dr. Lotus Richey, and Dr. Ralph Steele. As I stated, I'm a city councilwoman, but before running for public office for myself, I worked on many campaigns, presidential, senatorial, congressional, state level, local level, and I've been in the legislative political arena for a number of years. And one of the things that I truly believe is important for us to have women running for office and women sitting at the table. I believe it has a direct impact on women's economic empowerment. And I'm going to talk about that. But before I do, I just want to give a few things about women's economic empowerment and why it's so important. Women's economic empowerment is central to realizing women's rights and gender equality. Women's economic empowerment includes, but it's not limited to, a woman's ability to participate equally in existing markets, their access to and control over productive resources, access to decent work, and increased voice, agency, and meaningful participation in economic decision making at all levels, from the household to the international level. When more women work, economies grow. The data supports it, the statistics support this. When more women are working, economies are going to grow. This is why women's economic empowerment is so important. Women's economic empowerment boosts productivity. It increases economic diversification and income equality, in addition to other positive development outcomes. Women's economic equality is good for business. I'm going to say that again. Women's economic equality is good for business. In other words, women being empowered economically, it makes good business sense. Companies greatly benefit from increasing employment and leadership opportunities for women, which is shown to increase organizational effectiveness and growth. It is estimated that companies with 3 or more women in senior management positions, they score higher in all dimensions of organizational performance. That's why it's important for women to run for office and to be at the table and to be a part of the conversation. Unfortunately, in many countries, women have been underrepresented in government in different institutions. This historically tends to persist, still persists, although women are increasingly being elected to be heads of states and government. As of October 2019, the global participation rate of women in national level parliaments is 24.5%. In 2013, women accounted for 8% of all national leaders and 2% of all presidential posts. Furthermore, 75% of all prime ministers and presidents have taken office in the past 2 decades. Women face a lot of challenges when it comes to running for political office and being political leaders, but I'm glad to say that more and more women are pursuing leadership positions in present day, because women are starting to understand, if we're not at the table when the laws are being made, there's no one there speaking for us. And so while I believe we've made great strides, we still have a lot of work to do. And so it's important for women of influence in every industry. My industry just happens to be government. It's important for us to train, to equip, to teach, and prepare this next generation of women so that they can take their seats at the table, so that we can continue to see women empowered economically, so that we will continue to grow and develop and be successful. I just want to encourage women today that when we run, we win. And when we win, we get a seat at the table. And when we sit down at the table, we get a say in the laws that are passed that are going to have a direct impact on women's economic empowerment. I hope something was said today that encouraged, motivated you, or stirred you, if you're a woman, to throw your hat, to throw your name in the hat, run for office so you can get a seat at the table, so that you can be a part of the conversations for women's economic empowerment. Thank you all again, and have a great day.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for the recording. And we are not able to ask any questions in that light, but we can reach out via Fondation Dab or Lotus Richer, Dr. Lotus Richer Ignite, to connect with Councilwoman Soretta Smith and ask her any questions. Without further ado, oh, sorry, I think we need a 5-minute break. We're gonna play a video at the back, but if anyone needs a comfort break, we're gonna do a short one now and see you in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Hold on a second. Let me come off. Let me come off screen.
Welcome back, everybody. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our next very esteemed speaker, who is Professor Alain Ndedi, someone who is very closely associated with Foundation Lab. He has supported our organization for a number of years. Just a little bit about him: he is the author of more than 40 books. Professor Ndedi has worked at the World Bank and USAID as a consultant and is currently teaching in various tertiary institutions across Africa. Professor Ndedi is the founding director of the think tanks KBAC and past president of YINPAD. In South Africa, Dr. Ndedi attended the SABC for the Monetary Policy Committee Conference in South Africa, of the South African Reserve Bank, and he then broadened his understanding of central bank monetary policies and mechanisms. We welcomed Professor Ndedi to the platform, and over to you to start your presentation. Thank you so much. Professor Ndedi, your mic might not be on.
Is okay now? You can hear me?
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
And Professor, I know that you may be in the midst of transposing your presentation into the slideshow. So we'll stand by for you to move it into the slideshow for your presentation. And thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. My name is Alain Ndedi. I'm a university professor. I've been teaching for the past 20 years, especially in Africa. As Nirvani said, published more than 50 books in the area of entrepreneurship, economy, quality management, you can name them. And by the way, one of my books was featured among the best books in the field of entrepreneurship for all times, according to CNN. I taught at the University of Johannesburg the course related to entrepreneurship at the bottom of the pyramid. Because for many years we have been focusing on entrepreneurship with big businesses. With entrepreneurship at the bottom of the pyramid, how to bring ordinary individuals to launch their own business. And my discussion today is going to center around entrepreneurship and humanocracy landscape, how to frame an environment for continual revolution using digital tools in order to develop entrepreneurship in the African countries. If we want to represent what we are living in Africa through this picture, where we see in one way we see competence, in the other way we have Africa, and there's a divide. The aim is how to cross, how to bridge these two, meaning how to make the African continent start using the digital instrument in order to make the change of ordinary individuals. In this discussion, we have three variables that are going to be discussed: digital social entrepreneurship, and human democracy. And what we need digital social entrepreneurship in order to unleash the potential of African entrepreneurs. Basically, not only African entrepreneurs who have billions to run their business, but those who are at the bottom of the pyramid. You know, with the event of COVID, it's not easy to see ordinary individuals continue sustaining their business. What do we mean by digital social entrepreneurship? We all know that, but In few words, how to develop a business oriented to deal with social issues using technology. This is what we call digital social entrepreneurship. What about humanity? This is a work on by a professor at London Business School. And with at the heart of this expression of this variable is how to give the opportunity to ordinary individuals to unleash their potential. Because unfortunately, in many African countries, the problem are the hardship that people experience, that people are facing, in order to be entrepreneurs. But with the concept of humanity, we are going to see how a platform, how an environment can be developed in order to make or to give the opportunity to ordinary individuals to be entrepreneurs. And the last thing that we want to see before we continue, and these are some facts. 28% of African people in the African continent use the internet. And what can be done in order to give the opportunity of Africans to have full advantage of digital technology abilities? It's not always easy because hardship or difficulties to reach that, to use that advantage at all levels. Internet, in many cases in Africa, used for leisure, so used to make money. But here, we are going to see how the internet can be used for entrepreneurs, how internet can be used in order to make money. I'm going to give you some diagram to see. It's not well seen, but anyway, here I have a sample of 5 countries or 6 in Africa, and we are seeing their curves that are very that show that people are not using the internet in their country. And why, when people are not using internet, it's going to be difficult for them to use that internet to run their business, because we are living in the flat world. People in Singapore, in Africa, or in US, you want to have the product when it's produced. You want to have access to a service as soon as it's available. But without the use of ICTs, it's going to be difficult for these potential consumers to use the product or the service. The global digital divide is also seen in this uh, slide according to International Monetary Fund. If we try to watch where is Africa is situated, we see Sub-Saharan Africa, 24.1% of individuals are using the internet. I may exclude from this picture, from this slide, countries like South Africa or Rwanda, where they are moving sometimes around 40% of people using the internet. Digitalization in African continental free trade is important to use ICTs, but for what? For what purposes? A couple of years ago, African countries come for what we may call here an African continental free trade area. How ICT can be used in order to unlock that full potential? We see many African countries, the borders are locked. Unfortunately, a person living in South Africa may produce a product, but that product is going to be difficult to be used in Zambia or in Zimbabwe, a country not closely to South Africa. But by using this agreement, African Continental Free Trade Area, countries can commercialize their product across the borders. And this is possible through ICT. We have in countries like SIMA or ECOWAS, where people are producing many products. But these products are not can only be sold in the country where they are produced. While neighboring countries can also have access to the product. But through ICTs, these countries, neighboring countries, they can have access to these products that are commercialized by these countries. But for that to be possible, there is a need of an investment for that free trade to happen. We are going to see this investment done through private public partnerships, meaning that individuals who can have funds, money, they can work with their various governments or with regional institutions in order to see how they can develop ICT for trade to develop in the country. Here we are seeing the multiplier downstream benefit because each time that potential entrepreneurs can be in a network, they can work together. We are going to see going to benefit ordinary individuals. Digitalization can be a tool for reducing inequalities in the country. Yes, because people can commercialize their products, they can make a kind of income and they can move from poverty to a better life. Unfortunately, right now, with the data that we have, many people are living in poverty because they cannot really use ICT in a manner that is going to empower them. Underserved population or vulnerable population have difficulties to do that. In sum, how we can we move forward? We have 4 points regarding the way forward. Investment in infrastructure, that was very important, nationally, regional, and at the continental level. Investment in policy framework by fostering a digital-friendly business and regulatory environment. Investment in skill by improving core education in areas on the field where people can make money. Investment in risk management. These are the 4 areas in which investment can improve the what we are living now. Here we have another slide showing us the roles of ICTs in the continent. And I'm afraid to tell you that here we see that few routes are moving from Africa to other continents. While in other areas in the world, we see how countries are connected. But unfortunately, in the African continent, it's not the case. We need to change this paradigm. We need to change the current situation. Here we have network coverage in some sub-Saharan Africa. We have Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. Yes, when we look at South Africa, we can say it's okay. Kenya is not bad. But average, we are below 40% in Africa. What are the first steps to achieve a digital society for all Africans? Number one, we need to bridge the gap, the digital divide. Here, it can only be possible with broad-based digitalization, especially for those people at the bottom of the pyramid. Here, I'm calling people at the bottom of the pyramid, the poorest, those are struggling to make them money, people who have difficulties to run or to launch their own business. There's an effective measure to enhance and sustain economic growth, and it starts with ensuring access to digital infrastructure for all. The international community must also immediately unlock development financing to spend on new model of digital infrastructure investment. This point is so important because by reaching it, we are going to give opportunity to many to have access to ICT and all the others. The second one is investment in capital, in digital inclusion and states. Yes, investment can be done at the national level, but people need to be empowered. You need to be trained at the university level or also through some short courses for that have the skills for that to use the infrastructure that is available. This one is very important. It has public services at stake. Yes, entrepreneurs sometimes they struggle to deal with various governments. But when these governments are digitalized, when all these governments they have infrastructure, the necessary infrastructure, It's going to be easy for potential entrepreneurs to liaise with them, to discuss with them, or to have any kind of partnership with them. This one is also important. The fourth one and the last is to close the digital gap for small and medium enterprises. Yes, unfortunately, we have people who are launching their business, but sometimes they are not aware that around the corner there's someone who's doing something similar to what they are doing. But when will close the gap, there is going to be a flow of information. You know that someone who's in Senegal, you may be aware that someone in Burundi is doing the business or need his product, and they can be in contact and try to offer them offer. In in sum, what we may say, the time for digital Africa is there, and this is the time. We don't need to swim back or to put it at a later stage. Collectively and through the multi-stakeholder partnership, we need all rallying around African digitalization as one of the key development challenges of the decade. We need to ensure a broad-based, inclusive, and sustainable digitalization that has become one of the most urgent developmental issues for our generation. I cannot finish this presentation without coming back to this um, slide. The aim is to close that gap that between these one side of computer and the other side, we have African entrepreneurs. If this gap is closed, we are going to improve the life of people. Thank you, Nivani, and it was a pleasure sharing this presentation.
Thank you, Professor Ndeti. I think that's such insightful information, especially on digital social entrepreneurship, which is a subject that's not often talked about. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to raise for Professor Ndeti?
I have a question, actually,
Yes.
if I may. Professor Ndeti, I had the pleasure of meeting you some time ago, and I've come to know that you work tirelessly to support everything that the Foundation Lab does, but not just in Africa, but globally. So, what inspired you? And I think Dr. Kelly and Dr. Eve shared this earlier on. It was their mother, but your mother, other women who also inspired you to take such great stand for women and having them to evolve even greater economically.
Yes. First of all, you just say you have to give a part of my answer. I was having the privilege to live with my mother, was a single mom, and she was a very entrepreneur. She started working. She was waking up at 4 o'clock. I was there watching at her, and she gave me the opportunity to know that women are suffering and they need the
Yes.
support of men. And when I finished my first degree, I was in the field of management. I was supposed to have a go in a public school in Cameroon and have a nice job, make a lot of money. I decided to continue with my studies to do entrepreneurship. And at that time, when I was doing entrepreneurship in Cameroon or in Africa, it was not known. I remember when I started to come back in Africa, people were asking me, what do you mean entrepreneurship? Yes, I say entrepreneurship. And I have a privilege to study in at a certain point, one of the best universities in South Africa called University of Pretoria, where I learned a lot the concept of social entrepreneurship. And by the way, I started working a project on social entrepreneurship at that time involving women. I will have to go to township in South Africa just to stimulate them, to encourage them to run their own business. And I've been doing that in many African countries, and that's why with Fondation Lab, when
Mhm.
Dr. Florence approached me. By the way, she used to be my student, and she was the one who told me, I would like, after finishing my studies, launch an NGO working in women empowerment. I said, okay, I will go with you. And that's why I've been working with her for many years. Unfortunately, it's not easy to manage social engagement and where you can make money. Because I'm also a university scholar, sometimes I have to be involved in my lectures, but I cannot forget my social engagement. Yeah.
Awesome. I appreciate that answer.
Thank you.
And Ms. Nirvani, I wanted to ask a question of Dr. Selena Pinashimo before we transitioned. If she's available, I've got a question, if I may ask, because I think this ties into what Professor Ndedi is sharing as well. Okay. So I wanted to ask Dr. Selena Pinashimo about her keys of greatness, and I love that. But she tackles this same thing that Professor Ndedi says in part from an emotional standpoint, an internal standpoint. So I wanted to understand, why is it so critical for women, even from the moment of inception in the womb, why they must have that emotional balance as they move into business, not only in the business sector, but in their home. Because many of the men on this platform said it loud and proud. It's their mothers that have, and not to say nothing negative about the fathers, but it's the mothers that have a major impact, especially in the emotional realm. So I wanted to kind of trickle back and ask Dr. Selena Pinashimo, why is that so critical for us to be balanced as women emotionally? Thank you.
Hi, I'm not going to come on screen, so I was just preparing myself to leave the island. However, I will try to answer that. It's first of all, we're emotional creatures, right? And we have a lot of weight that we carry, a lot of burdens that we absorb. We're carrying, and we have a lot of influxes of emotions that come and ebb and flow more frequently. We have to look at the business world, and we have to fight to get our way in there.
Yes.
We have to. I mean, I remember being at a conference one day. I was the keynote speaker, and I was in the concierge floor of the hotel getting a cup of coffee when this man asked me if I would get him a cup of coffee because he thought I worked there. So even being a black woman, we have to fight even harder to get recognized. We're constantly having to, put out a lot of what goes on around us, and we do it because that's how we're trained. That's how our parents brought into, maybe, I mean, we're fortunate, our parents brought that into view for us, especially our mothers.
Yes.
We had that type of relationship.
Yes.
So we just have a lot more that we typically carry. We tend to be more, I'm going to say this generally in a general fashion, but we undergo a lot of abuse.
Yes.
There's a lot of abuse. I mean, men do too. But so there's a lot of stuff that we have to sort through. So we have to find balance in any way that we can. We have to find balance because we've got what it takes to be that entrepreneur. I'm a living example of coming from passion to from mishaps to passion, and we all have it. I come from an entrepreneurial family, but we don't always feel we're good enough. So we have to get that good enough going. We have to be able to wrap ourselves around being able to fight that fight and face that next battle, and do it in a way that sometimes we have to come out of our comfort zone and feel okay with that, and be balanced and feeling okay with that. So we don't walk away feeling like we have been depleted because so many times we've been told that we're not good enough. So there's a lot of reasons why, Lois, that we have to always find ourselves in a place of having to make sure that we are carrying the right loads, carrying the right, being able to put the burdens into place, to put the emotional stressors and daily compilations into place.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Selena. I think it's really powerful how many successful people have been raised by single mothers, and that's a great testament to women in itself. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to give you a brief idea of what's to come for the next hour. We've got Dr. Lotus Riche, who's going to do her presentation. We have Dr. Florence Nisabwe, who's going to share her thoughts on her expertise. And we're going to introduce you to a very exciting new project that Dr. Nisabwe has launched, which will come shortly after her presentation. And there is some really exciting entertainment that is coming our way. I'm pretty sure that it's confirmed. As last as I know, it was confirmed. But please hang in there, and we will be with you shortly on any changes to that schedule. However, leading on, you are very familiar with Dr. Lotus Riche. She has been a familiar face throughout the 3 days of the seminar and summit. And I'm not going to go back into her profile or her bio, but I'm going to say over to you, Dr. Lotus Riche.
Thank you very much. Greetings to Thank you very much. Greetings to each and every one of you. We are so happy that you are here with us. Without you, I don't know what we would do. And I just got to say, Miss Nirvani, you have been doing a fabulous job, and I just thank you for the introduction. And to Dr. Selena Pinashimo, thank you so much for answering that question, because it's a very needed question to know and to understand how we must be in emotional balance. So thank you for that. And to all the speakers that I have to follow, oh my gosh, I just want to thank you and I appreciate you. So let's get right into it. And I have the ability to share my screen, and thank you so much. And let me make sure I'm sharing from the right screen, and I think that I am. And here we are. So with no further ado, I want to thank each and every one of you, but especially Dr. Florence, for this amazing platform. I am so humbly honored to share this portion of the segment, the power of identity to succeed as a woman entrepreneur. It is unequivocal that women have struggles, and we have struggled since time began. So let's talk about this. Who I am. Who could I be? What could I be? Some of us, if not most of us, we struggle with identity. And sometimes these struggles hold us back from what we could become. In fact, one's identity is more complex and it's hard to explain than what we imagine oftentimes. And so, women in the United States, many times we are able to identify in certain ways, whereas women in other countries, especially Africa, are not given the opportunity to identify or to even come to the table. Not to say that this is not pervasive across multiple planes, it is. But here today, we are talking about our African women, for starters, globally. And then we're also talking about all women. So let's talk about this identity. Identity can sometimes really be confusing with all the labels that we're given from women, in identity. Let's look at the idea of identity as explained by the psychology today. It says identity encompasses the memories. Of course it does. Our experiences, our relationships with people, our relationships when we are actually in the womb. That's why I alluded to that earlier. And the values that we create one with another. Okay? This creates a steady sense of who one is over time. But you know what? Identity, even though it's confusing, a person can be labeled as such, but that it's not to identify him or her. Identity includes all of these things, as you can see on the screen, our relationships and things of that. But see, here's the thing. Identity becomes people's first impression of you. It becomes a heavy influence by your environment, by people that look onto you, and by labels that are given. Certain labels that are given seem to identify us by what the social standards are. So having over much concern over what others might think of you or what they might say can sometimes make you feel that you need to hide, that you're not important, that you don't need to stand up, or that you don't need to stand out. But here is where we have to build strong boundaries so that we identify internally with who we are, what we are, and what we're becoming. Here's something that a wonderful artist that I follow has said. She said, "You can't please all the people all the time." And so it doesn't matter what people say about you, it matters what the Most High knows of you. And so when we talk about identity, we want to talk about that. Why? Because identity is powerful. Our identity drives much of our behaviors. It ultimately drives some of the results of our life. Okay. It's unequivocal that human beings can do everything in their power to have a great identity, but sometimes it's marred. According to a blog called by goodtherapy.org, our identity is self chosen. Our identity. Let's take a look at some of the people that we've seen here. Many of them are doctors or scientists, are Congress people. But guess what? Before they became those people in those roles, they were themselves. Let's look at Professor Ndedi. Let's look at Dr. Selena Pinashimo. Can you imagine Dr. Ndedi with this short haircut? He's playing years ago as a kid. That was a part of his identity. The environment around him, the people he played with, is a part of his identity. And it is powerful because that's how people relate to us. What about Dr. Selena Pinashimo, who we just talked to? Understanding the keys of emotional wellness and emotional balance. Guess what? That is a part of our identity that we embrace. And it's unequivocal that identity is one of the key paramount foundations that we must embrace, that we must set boundaries with, and that we must signify that are our own. And identity represents how we perceive ourselves and how we want others to perceive us. It's a label, it's a decipher, and oftentimes it's given to us by others based on their stereotypes of us. So the question becomes, what do you want people to know and say about you? So let's talk a little bit about the history of the identity of women in Africa and globally. We know that without a doubt, women artistically are shown to thrive in the world. And it's shown that women are remarkable and how they are changing with the times and with the tides. And that we are continually to show up. But the lack of equality with the opportunities for women is staggering. It is unequivocal that historically, the world has set guidelines for women of how they should be. There's a great website that I think may serve you well. It's called interactive.unwomen.org. And when you go there, it shows artistically how women thrive throughout the world. It shows what we're doing in these changing times. But let's face it, society is telling women how we should dress, how we should act, how we should perceive things, what jobs we should work in. It's telling us what we should do as a gender. Women, you can only wear skirts, only wear high heels. Let me ask you something, and I'd like you to put this in the chat. How many women out there, anytime you get ready to be seen in public, you feel like you got to put on your lipstick? You feel like you got to put on your makeup? How many of you feel that? Go ahead and put a 5 in the chat. Put a 5 in the chat. And now let's talk about men, because guess what? This happens to men too, but on a different scale. So men, how many of you, when you're getting ready to prepare, just like a summit, for this summit, right? You went and got your hair shaved, you shaved your beard or your mustache or whatever, you got your nose hairs, your ears hairs out, and you really put on your best suit. Why? Because it's about how we want to be perceived. It's about how we know some people will perceive us. And for many of us, let's face it, women are expected to be polite. We're expected to be modest. We're expected to be nurturing. We're expected to be submissive. But isn't it interesting that we don't expect men to be as nurturing or polite or submissive? But it's all about identity. I know that many people consider women as the weaker sex, but we had one of our wonderful speakers talk about this briefly earlier. And I dare say women are not the weaker sex. And we must reform the way we think, because when we reform what we think about changes. And therefore, our identity can greatly shine through. So let's talk about some examples. As we can see, labels for women across history is less valuable than men, and we know that. So, for example, sustainable development is a key driver to women's economic empowerment. And we've had many of the people on this platform talk about it today. Yet, less than 20% of landholders are women. There are so many gender differences in access to land and credit. And because of this, it limits our economical opportunities for women farmers. Let's talk about that, because it is unequivocal that those who rule the food control the people. So the question is, who are you being controlled by economically? Who do you want to be controlled by? Dare I say, women don't want to be controlled. We want to have a seat at the table. We want to also be able to create our table and decide what food is being served at the table for our nourishment. Worldwide, there are more than 700 million women alive today, and many of them were married before the age of 18. I know women who have had arranged marriages because of where they're from, and it still goes on today. Many women get married to get out of the house because of sometimes they're being abused within the home, or sometimes they just find their soulmate. But here's the thing. There are 250 million women that were married before age 15, before they even understood their own identity. So the question becomes, why are we allowing, as women and as men that support women, why are we allowing these things to happen? Some of it is traditional, some of it is cultural. Yet it is robbing women of the very essence of their identity, because oftentimes when we marry at such a great young age, we become more of the other person than we are of ourselves. And we never get to understand and know ourselves. Let's face it. How many of us have gone through a relationship? Maybe you were married, maybe you had a long-term relationship with somebody, 10, 20 years or what have you. And then you break up. And then you realize, oh my God, I don't listen to music every Saturday anymore. You know why? Because when I met that person, they didn't like me to listen to music. So I changed. And then we start realizing we've become more of someone else than we are of ourselves. And we have to start getting to know our own self, getting to know our true identity. And so it is unequivocal that we must support women. We must empower them to know that above all, that they have the right to understand who they are. And it is okay to be who they are, just as they are. Even substantial progress has been made in achieving equality, but still yet it's not there. For instance, only 70 girls are enrolled in for every 100 boys in charity level education in sub-Saharan Africa. Let's talk about gender equality before the law. It still is there, but it doesn't translate into reality. Okay, there's 140 countries that guarantee gender equality in the Constitution of the United States. But it is unequivocal that when we go to the plates, to the batting plate here in the United States, now I'm speaking in the United States, and I've traveled and I've lived globally, there is still a disparity between how women identify in the workplace, okay? Because we're coming from the internal identification, but how we identify in the workplace. We often identify as the lesser of the two, even though we have the same credentials, and many times we have more credentials than our male counterparts. Yet we are paid less, we are worked harder, and we are expected to be mother, wife, pastor in many cases, teacher, trainer, and be at the job, devoid of what's happening. And so we have to understand, even with our efforts, the gender wage gap is crazy. Women in all walks of life, globally, women earn 24% less than men. So I call on our brothers, I call on our sisters. We must change this gap. The history of women in Africa, it is it is without question that there are many people who have been married at young ages. There are many relationships at the center of kidnap, even within families. And along the West African coast, female market traders, you know, they actually acted as arbiters between the society so that women traders can can at least have their share of the pie. But slaves within Africa were likely to be women. It's a reflection of their reproductive contributions to their communities. Isn't it interesting that a part of our identity is being the mother, the mothers, yet we are not oftentimes allowed to share the greatness of being a mother. Women are at the center of business related transactions then until now. And they are the backbone of the household and the community. And that's unequivocal. Okay? It's unequivocal. Yet there's movements that never really happen until late. So let's look at them. How do we rise and shine on the identity of women? In New York, July 13, 1848. Now, this has been going on a long time. That's right. We have been working, striving so that we can thrive. The women's right movement marked the beginning, 1848, right here in the United States, New York. New Zealand, 1874, becomes the first self-governing nation to allow women to vote. Again, our identity. Where do we show up? How are we inspired? Okay. Nigeria, 1929. And the list goes on and on and on. And so our identity as women has been really pressed down, but we are emerging. And we are emerging because of how we are allowing ourselves to grow with the support of those that know and love us. Our identity as women, and I want to back up here, our identity as women has always been with us. It just needed to be expressed. And we had to crush the labels that people asserted to us. And so women's movements throughout the ages were started all around the globe. Some started out loud, some were subtle, but they all wanted one thing: to acknowledge women's identity, that they can be leaders, that they can be entrepreneurs, that they can become the most powerful person on the planet. And it is unequivocal that we continue to rise. So let's talk about self-inspiration, mental, emotional, and spiritual fortitude. It is without question, it is vital to build a strong mental, emotional, spiritual fortitude. Since our identities can be influenced by nature and nurture, we must be, and we are, at risk of having a weak identity. If you grow in an unhealthy, inspirational environment, you will not thrive the way the Most High has intended. For this, you must find self inspiration, self empowerment. You must be motivated. Find out what motivates you. Is it music? Is it painting? We have Dr. Kelly. He's an artist. Are you an artist? Or have you the will to become better than where you are by evolving into what you want to become? I dare say, yes, you do. Because you're here, you're watching, you're in this space and time. It is clear that it is unequivocal that the world will not be tranquil despite the noise of labels. It will not be tranquil. We must continue to rise. When you know yourself, you are empowered. When you accept yourself, you are invincible. Tina Lifford shared that in her thoughts of words of wisdom. So let me ask you this. In the comment, tell us one thing about yourself when it comes to business that you know about yourself. Tell us one thing about your identity that you know about yourself that makes you empowered, that makes you invincible. And if it takes a few minutes for you to do that, it's okay, because this is a cognitive process that's graduating you to that moment. So the mirror effect, I want to talk about that. It's without question that the mirror effect is what we see in the mirror. So what is your mirror telling you? What is happening to you eternally? What is going on in your mind? I want to back up right here because this is my last slide that I'm sharing with you. So I hope you got it. I always say note takers are money makers and note takers are change makers. So what I'm asking you, are you ready for the change? The mirror effect on identity. Are you looking yourself in the mirror like Michael Jackson said? He was looking at the man in the mirror. He was asking that man to make a change. Are you showing up in your own identity? Are you, as a woman, asking yourself to make the change, to give yourself a voice to be heard and allowing yourself to be seen? We say that children should be seen and not heard. But what about adults? We must be heard. We must be seen. Even as little girls, we must be heard. We must be seen. And it is without question that what we think about, we bring about in our thoughts, expressions, behaviors, and energy that we exude and formulate into the environment around us. The mirror internally is what we see inside as a reflection of what we have to be molded to be. So, dare I say, step up, step out, learn your identity, hold it at hand, and do not allow anyone to call you what they want to call you, but call you by your name. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Lotus Rashay. I graduate or encourage you to ignite and take flight in every area of your life with emphasis on the identity piece of your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vishay. That was incredible. Sure.
Thank you.
We do need a break. So I'm going to call for a 5-minute break. And I think that if anyone has any questions, they're more than welcome to reach out to you in the private chat.
Yes.
You have shared your details. Sorry, Lotus, do you mind just not sharing your screen any longer, please?
Yes, I'm unsharing. Give me one moment, please, and thank you.
We're going to lead straight into break.
Thank you.
And see you all in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. And we'll hear from Dr. Florence afterwards.
Yes, thank you.
uyu munsi ntibyoroshye uyu munsi ni umunsi ukomeye cyane ndibuka aho haberekera ndibuka aho haberekera twagana turagira inka mu myonga imbanza tugasangira tuzenguruka tugasangira bishoboka tugashokomangana tugenda turasangira uducumu two kukigira amarayo utari kumwe ndarengerwa ari kumwe ndarengerwa ibyo nkora byose bikabifaguza ari mu ijoro abona ari kumutagama arabona ibanza kw'ijuru ringuye iyo numvise imituragaro mu mutima wanje nkabona icyo mfata n'icyo ndeka mu nyumve niyo mpamvu mwizima iyo turi kungara ibara iyo turi kungara ibara niyo shavuyara twigera niyo shavuyara twigera ukumbarira rayotorera iyo turi kungara ibara iyo turi kungara ibara niyo shavuyara twigera ukumbarira rayotorera
Wonderful. Are we all refreshed and ready to go and close up with our last speaker? The well-known Dr. Florence Bizabo, who without this event would not be possible. She has achieved quite a bit. At times she thought she wouldn't be able to, especially when we considered getting our visas and the barriers that we had experienced there, but she persevered, and then we're all very proud of what has been accomplished over the past 3 days. Sorry. Excuse me. And we're very proud of everything that she has done and brought to us and connected all of us. So, Florence, we would like to offer you the opportunity to be our closing speaker before we continue with the end of our session and closing ceremonies. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Yeah, welcome to my presentation. I'm not going to be long. And I'm having a topic that can be developed by many of our speakers, and Professor Lady has said it all. Well, when we first conceived this conference, we had hoped that it would be a physical event and that we could all interact in person. Sadly, the ongoing unpredictability of the COVID-19 pandemic means that we had to pivot to a virtual event instead. While this is disappointing in a way, it is also the perfect illustration of the power and potential of digitalization. Without being able to connect online, we would not know now be having these vital conversations. I think that there is an error in the technical system. Slide one, please.
Please bear with us. We have some challenges here in South Africa with load shedding, which has impacted on our electricity supply. So that might also impact our telecoms. But I know that other people in different parts of the world are experiencing the same issues at the moment. I'm sure the tech team will be getting back on track ASAP. They've been amazing. They've been quite wonderful for the past couple of days. So this might just be a small hiccup.
And dare I say, they have been phenomenal. So let's hear it for the tech team. Go ahead and put a number 10 in the comments because we're sending them positive energy. And it looks like they're already back on track. See what positive energy can do?
Great, thank you for the positive energy. And as I was saying, I'm not gonna be long, as this topic has been discussed earlier with our previous speakers. So let's move to the slide two. It's rare that trends happen in isolation. If we look at our planet, for instance, at present, we can see a number of micro trends ranging from potentially apocalyptic to promising. Perhaps the most important trend and the one whose effects are increasingly being left is climate change, which could pose an existential threat to humanity with the lifetimes of some of us. So we can also feel the tension between globalization and let's say isolationism, and between movement motivated by equal rights for underrepresented groups and the desire of some governments and organizations to exercise increased control over population. The pandemic is not itself a trend, but has served to slow down some existing trends and accelerate others. So without that, many forms of human transaction, including social entrepreneurship, has been made more difficult. Conversely, much more human activity has moved online, and this raises the important questions about the relationship between social entrepreneurship and digitalization, question that I will address in this presentation. Next, please. Great. So social entrepreneurship is a topic we have all studied in detail, many of us, myself included, uh, and we may have spent many less time considering the importance of digitalization despite its growing role in our lives. In a simple terms, digitalization is the conversion of any kinds of physical information into a digital format. In the process, it becomes much easier and often more cost effective to store, transmit, share, and manipulate. A closely related development is the adoption of digital technology. All of us on this call have experienced digitalization. Participating in this online event right now is an example of digitalization. As I'm talking now, I'm in Burundi. The technical team is in South Africa, and the team is in different areas:
Yep.
Victoria, Johannesburg, Cape Town. We have Lotis in Washington, and Debbie from Cameroon, and some others from Uganda, DRC, Texas. So this is really magic. In the wider social entrepreneurship context, we will look at the general trends of more and more human activity, including education, commerce, and our personal lives, as our friend Mary Karubaja mentioned it in her presentation, and migrating to digital devices and online platform has a very positive impact. This also falls under the umbrella of digitalization. Slide 4. So, if you are familiar with the developmental challenges faced by Africa, you may not be surprised to learn that as a continent, Africa has been left behind in the rush of digitalization. Currently, for instance, only 1 in 5 Africans has access to the internet. And the position varies significantly by countries. However, larger, relatively wealthy nations such as South Africa and Nigeria tend to have far higher levels of digitalization. However, there is a real risk that Africans may become second class citizens in terms of connectivity, just as they have been in terms of other key economic and wellness indicators. The next. While digitalization in Africa may have begun relatively slowly, other technology adoption trajectories suggest that trend with, these trends will accelerate and reach a tipping point beyond which the majority of African people experience at least some degree of connectivity. So before we can welcome this likely development, we examine the relationship between social entrepreneurship and digitalization. Next. So digitalization in Africa is not warranted. It is clear that numerous obstacles stand in its way. Some of these are physical in nature. Uh, Africa is vast, and despite decades of urbanization, many people still live in relatively remote rural communities. So topography is also another issue. Such as mountains, rivers, and rainforests can dramatically slow the spread of or installation of new technology. So there is a need for major investments. Professor Lady mentioned it, investment in infrastructure, and this will almost certainly need to involve both the public and the private sector. So time will be of the essence. The pace of the technological advancement, especially the rollout of now protocols such as 4G and now 5G, mean that newly purchased equipment can soon become redundant. At the same time, some new technologies are uniquely suited to Africa's circumstances, such as smart satellite services for connecting off-grid locations. Then another aspect is the political factors are also important. True, connectivity will require an enhanced degree of regional and international trust. That is a commodity that cannot always be plentiful in Africa. Domestically, some governments have recognized the importance of giving their people enhanced access to the internet, while the others, especially those of more authoritarian bents, have often sought to restrict it. So it was telling that one of the first acts of the protests in the military camp in Sudan uh, in the last month was disable internet access for the public. A further economic factor that should not be overlooked is the cost of access for consumers. And this consists of purchasing both an internet-enabled device, most commonly a smartphone, and data, which has historically been costly in Africa. While there are some obstacles to digitalization in Africa is discussed, there are also a number of factors in the continent's favor. These include perhaps paradoxically the fact that Africa is late adopter, and this means that African nations can benefit from the falling cost of technology and the learning gleaned from other countries that have already installed such technology. In general, technology becomes smaller, smarter, and cheaper over time. So this trend, combined with advances such as satellite internet and 5G, that is connectivity enablers that require only occasional terrestrial infrastructure rather than fiber connection to each building, would also help Africa to connect faster. The next one. So is digitalization inclusive? Mhm. Our research into social entrepreneurship has highlighted how different the life experiences of men and women are, especially when it comes to education and employment. In addition, a mobile gender divide has been documented. That is, men are roughly twice as likely to become online as women. In many cases, this is a function of pervasiveness of traditional gender roles and archaic views as the correct role and behavior of women. The next. So there are multiple factors that lie behind the mobile data divides. In essence, they boil down to the fact that in more traditional societies, women are less likely to have paid formal employment, are less likely to leave the home or their immediate neighborhood, are less likely to be financially independent, and they tend to have less leisure time. Next. So these factors contribute to the mobile gender divide being something of a vicious cycle. That is some of the factors that militate against women having internet access, are in turn exacerbated by this same lack of connectivity, essentially lack of internet access, serves to exclude women. Not being connected excludes them from opportunities in education and employment and can limit their potential in the politics sphere and social environment. So it is immediately clear that if digitalization is not extended to women, it could have a negative impact on their ability to become involved in and succeed in social entrepreneurship. It is at this point that these two trends converge, or perhaps the correct verb is collide. So the next one, when we look at the potential benefit of digitalization, we can see how they could support the growth of and participation of women in social entrepreneurship. Social entrepreneurship is about people finding ways to solve problems that affect their community. Their capacity to do this is exponentially increased by access to information, revenue stream, and by the ability to overcome obstacles ranging from mountains to social malls. So while digitalization could be said to be a net benefit, especially in the context of social entrepreneurship. It is now without its disadvantages. Just a lack of connectivity can leave an entire population behind. Selective connectivity to contribute to a two-tier society and actually reinforce rather than break down barriers between people of different economic status. Digitalization can also expose people to new form of crime, especially when they are unfamiliar with the risk. A less easily quantifiable hazard and one that may only manifest itself once digitalization becomes near universal within a society is a degree of erosion of in-person interaction. As mentioned earlier, this is a global trend that has been exacerbated by the pandemic and the various lockdown measures
Genius.
brought in to try and contain it. However, its impact may be most acutely felt in more traditional societies that have not had the opportunity to gradually adapt increasing digitalization. Next, we mentioned convergence a few moments ago, given that both digitalization and social entrepreneurship are both growing trends. How can the one support the other? The next, please. In asking this question, it's important to recognize that COVID-19, without that, slowed the move towards social entrepreneurship, whilst it has hastening moves toward digitalization. Next, we have to recognize that digitalization could be a powerful force in promoting and propelling social entrepreneurship thanks to its ability to remove friction. By that I mean that digitalization can facilitate interaction of many kinds from conversation to transaction. It is also highly empowering in that it gives people access to resources, most notably information, that they might not otherwise be able to benefit from. Next. Given that we are committed to the promotion of social entrepreneurship, and given that digitalization is a global trend that has acquired its own momentum, we must accept the challenge of leveraging the power and presence of digitalization pursuing our agenda. The last slide set out the next steps we can take to ensure that social entrepreneurship proceeds in tandem with digitalization. At the same time, we must work hard to close the mobile gender divide so that digitalization not only facilitates social entrepreneurship, but we are to the last slides, Tim. Yeah, so at the same time, we must work hard to close the mobile gender divide so that digitalization not only facilitates social entrepreneurship, but does so in a way that makes both of these trends are fully inclusive. Uh, Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that our friend, our speakers, talking from a digitalization perspective, will assist the foundation in promoting digitalization in our rural community because we know that most of the population that we have concentrated in the rural community. So there is a need to develop and to help to promote the rural communities from a woman perspective. Thank you so much once again for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Nisabwe. That was incredible. And I think we were all very enlightened by what the impact of not having access to digital technology and resources can actually have on those rural communities and also on the development so that we can have an equal footing for so many spheres of education and academics as well as careers, especially for the people of Africa. Um, there's one thing that I need to go into and is ready to launch or to highlight what Dr. Nisabwe has launched this year, which is a passion project for her and very much linked to the topics that we have covered during the course of the summit. The product that she has launched is called Rise and Shine magazine, which sits under Rise and Shine House. A little bit about the magazine is that it's dedicated to the woman from Africa and from across the globe. Rise and Shine introduces its readers to the latest news and stories on the exceptional women of Africa and beyond. And that also includes the women that we are featuring during the summit who represent the African American society as well as those who support the development of those societies. We bring you human stories highlighting the positive impact of women's economic empowerment, our core theme, and how it can be a key driver for sustainable global change and the great achievements towards reaching the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. Through Rise and Shine magazine, we want to create networks and also showcase remarkable women in business. Our quarterly publication is delighted to provide words of encouragement, motivation, and inspiration to women so that they can overcome their challenges, unlock their potential, and rise and shine in their businesses. So, we're going to lead into a video on Rise and Shine. And please hang on as we have a last closing few words from Dr. Nisabwe before we all say goodbye. Thank you. Take over. We seem to have lost some sound. I'm sure they're getting it back on track. Okay. Dr. Nisamu will maybe share the link of that video. I think that's appropriate for those of us who couldn't see it. Oh, it might have actually been the end of the book. Sorry about that. Dr. Nisabwe would like to give you a final word before we do. Let me just see my note here one moment. Um, Before we have a video of time, and then we have our entertainer, who I don't want to go into too much of details about, but we have someone who is going to entertain us in person, who has a very strong link to entertainment in the US with a large CV resume about her history working with James Brown, etc., and other accomplishments as an entertainer and music producer. So, Dr. Nisabwe, please would you share your thoughts in your closing ceremony, in your closing speech? Thank you.
Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, we are distinguished partners, sponsors, speakers, and supporters. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your participation over the past few days. Even though we've not been able to connect in person as you wanted, I believe that together we have achieved a great deal. I am overwhelmed by the support you have all provided and the amazing contribution from all our guest speakers. I want to extend my gratitude to each of you for being present and participating. You have been a great support to the vision that I have for making an impact on the African continent. All my objectives for this summit have been met. An absolute dream come true. I have wanted to create a sustainable ecosystem and a networking platform ambition is for in the same manner and to keep focused on the core objectives that we have all set together to doing what we do in our own individual spaces. I believe that we can confidently say that the summit was a success. Once again, Thank you for all your contribution over the past 3 days. Go in, be safe, but stay with us for a moment. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Dr. Nisabwe. We all appreciate your appreciation of us. Dr. Lotus Riche, I would like you to do a brief introduction to our entertainer, and thank you so much, everyone.
That's what you
Thank you very much. And so, if I may, there's no other or better way to describe this young lady. She is a world traveler, and she has been in the entertainment field for more than 40 years. She has traveled with some of the top icons in music all around the world. She has traveled, sang with, and accompanied the godfather of soul himself, Mr. James Brown. And she was therefore dubbed the goddess of soul. She is just simply amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this opportunity to share the inside of my studio and bring a little Hello. There she is, Dr. Martha High. Hello. And she's in her studio joining us.
Well, yeah, I was able to slip out for a moment because they're recording and everything. So I kind of eased back to my place and was able to sit up a little something. I'm sorry about the background or something, but I'm here. And that's the main thing that is important.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say that it's a pleasure being here to represent my Rise and Shine. I'm very happy to be a part of this and, to encourage women to continue to move up in the world and let everyone know that we can be a leader and, you can go by that by Dr. Felice Crochet and Falcons Opry and everything. So I'm here to help be a part of that, encouraging women to be the best they can be. So I have a song that I like to sing. It's called Always There's Always Room on the Top.
Miss High, well, I'm sorry, Dr. High. Is there possibly a way that we can get you into some more light so we can see your beautiful face? And whatever you have to do to get to that point, go ahead and do it. We'll wait for you. All right, that's perfect. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, now let me make sure that let me see. I'm gonna have to step over here.
Okay.
How about now?
That's good. That's good.
That's good. Okay, so now we gotta hook up just to real quick. Let me see.
All right. And so while Dr. Martha High, she just received her doctoral recently. And so now she is Dr. Martha High. And while she is getting ready, we want to thank Dr. Martha High, the goddess of soul. So please put in the comment. Please put in the comments some love. Give her some L's. Put some L's in the comments. We know that you are viewing us from all around the world. She is a global icon. So we are ready whenever you are, Dr. Martha High.
All right, I'm ready. I believe I'm ready. Let me see. Here we go. Okay, wait just a minute.
Take your time.
I'm a singer, but I'm not good with the sound. Okay. Oh.
Come on, y'all.
Life is like a river. Take the best to the brave. You got to make life successful. Up from the cradle to the grave. You must cross at the crossroads. Up and down the hill. Never fall to never fail. And keep your eyes on the trail. Listen, you got to start below. The bigger that you grow, you will grow and grow. There's always room on the top. No, don't you dare stop. There's always room on the top. No, don't you dare stop. is like a railroad. The brains and the pain. If you wanna make it big, be the ship that never sinks. You must wade in the water and stand against the wind. Oh, nothing seems to matter when you're climbing up the ladder. You got to start below. Get better, bigger you grow. Your name will grow and grow. Oh, there's always room on the top.
There's
No, never stop. There's always room on the top. No, don't you dare stop. Woo. Easy to reach the top. Yeah. Woo. There's always room on the top. No, don't you dare stop. There's always room at the top. Oh, don't you dare stop. There's always room at the top. No, don't you dare stop. There's always room on the top. No, don't you dare stop. There's always room on the top. Woo!
Yes. Thank you.
So listen, I'm so sorry. I took they allowed me about an hour to leave, and I think my time is up. But thank you for having me. And again, I support everything that we are working on. And like I said, the encouragement of women becoming powerful entrepreneurs. We just wish everyone the best, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hyde. We appreciate you.
Dr. Martha Hyde, and congratulations to your victory. And yeah, rise and shine, rise and shine, rise and shine, and rise and shine.
Thank you, Dr. Sabri. It is an honor and a pleasure to be on the front cover of Rise and Shine, and I'm just wishing that we'll have other powerful women to be on that cover in the future. And thank you for this opportunity.
Wow. Aren't we blessed? Thank you, Dr. Martha Hyde. And congratulations on your new album.
Thank you.
Wow. Simply amazing. So thank you again to Dr. Martha Hyde. Thank you to her engineers. Thank you for her studio staff that gave her a few minutes for her to come and join us. So thank you so much. And back to you, Dr. Florence.
Yeah, listening our family and ending these 3 days with energy up, and we request the technical team to give us some 1, 2 songs to say goodbye. And until we meet again, please stay safe, keep well. It was a pleasure. Are the best. If we got to give back today, we enjoy the moment, and we hope that it's
Yes.
just a beginning. It's a brand new beginning of many, many things ahead. Magda?
I don't want to go. I want to stay.
Stay. Don't go. I'm not chasing you. Just stay. Lebo, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm back again. I cannot really stop thanking you for your commitment, and I would also like to mention my husband who was with us since the first day, and who is really my first support in what I do. Without his support, I'm not sure if I could be here today. He's witnessing my replacement, and he was really kind despite the stress and all the stuff around the preparation. Thank you so much. We are happy. I think he's on the way coming to me. I was at my office, he was at home. Yeah, and I would like also the African Union represented here by Patrick Gonzague to give us a blessing. And we thank them for the support to the summit. Uh, Mr. Patrick, over to you.
Oh, thank you very
You
much,
are muted.
Dr. No, it's okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Florence Misabwe, and thank you all actually for this wonderful summit. Actually, on behalf of the African Union family, I would like to say that it was a great pleasure and honor for us to support the idea and also participate. Though I could not stay with you throughout the whole summit due to other engagements, but I have been following discussions. Then I have been also enjoying the passion and especially, how can I say, the mood and then the vision of great women. And then I'm not going to start naming each and every one, but I really enjoyed either Dr. Lotus, Dr. Eric Kelby, Magda Kaniki, and the mayor of Georgia that I do remember very well, the MC. And then I think without forgetting anyone, so I met some people that I already knew, like Polinaire, for instance, I saw then a young Indian also interested in entrepreneurship. So the African Union is really, as I said, we are all here African Union. We are all here Africans. And we all have something African in what we are doing. And then the joy is to see that, yes, it's an organization. It might have its own challenges, but seeing daughters and sons of Africa, wherever they are, making great and great contributions, impact to advance the cause of humanity, we should all celebrate. And as I already said, I'm he for she. Then anytime I see a woman, either mistreated or denied opportunity or any form of abuse, I'm concerned. First of all, as a son of my mother, as a husband of someone, and then as a father of three beautiful daughters. So if I don't, in my capacity, though I'm a man, I don't defend this, it means I'm not leaving any legacy to my own wife, to my own children, who should actually take me as a model at the time when I get old, when I will not be there. My mother is not here, but she will be glad to know that her small entrepreneurship has helped me. Then we will be amazed that I'm among few in the family that were able to study until university and now as a diplomat, then still going forward. But my mom, my daddy, they did not go that far. So I really need to help other men to understand this and then to go get aware of this male masculinity that, okay, it's only about men. So that's why actually when Florence came to the office and say we need the support of the African Union, I immediately actually got the idea. please, I don't want to say much, but on behalf of other partners, and then I wish to congratulate you, all of you, even those working behind the scenes, the husband of Nisabwe. I know he's been doing a great job. And all of you that I could not mention, just anything that you might have in mind, please, the Office of the African Union for the Great Lakes region will be delighted to support in any form that you may have, any project you want to implement in the Great Lakes region of Africa, in Burundi, in Rwanda, in DRC, in Tanzania, anywhere, anything that might support the cross-border trade, focusing on women, because we are moving, we want to see women working in informal sector and how to register their businesses and actually raise their kids properly, their business be secured. That's why I was in connection with the mayor from Georgia. So, and all of you using the digital connection, girls, now they are very smart with internet. So there are many things to talk about. You have already nailed all these ideas. And please, anytime, I think Nisabwe will share my contacts with you. And then we'll be glad sharing ideas on other platforms. And maybe meeting when I come to the US or anywhere where you are. It's home. So once again, congratulations, brave women leaders that I have met on this platform. Congratulations to this summit. It was really a success. And then I have to say it was a success. And then let's plan for many other summits like this. We'll bring other more vibrant young ladies, especially the young generation. It could be also a great idea. We have models that will take you as models, but also can build their own legacy. So on behalf of the African Union, on behalf of the Musa Faki, the president, the chairperson, Ambassador Bankole, who is the Commissioner of Peace and Security, Political Affairs, Peace and Security, and the chair of liaison offices, I wish to thank you all for the attention. And then let's meet again. Merci beaucoup.
Very soon. Thank you for your support. I'm really touched, and but I'm not surprised. Yeah, by the fact that you didn't hesitate to support the foundation. Me personally, because the foundation doesn't have the mouth to talk and so on. So I'm really grateful for your support and your time. I know you have a tight schedule, but you made it. So I would like to ask if Diego from World Bank is here with us and if he has a word. Diego?
Yes, it was a pleasure for being part in this initiative. So I'm really glad that the whole summit was successful and that this is only the start of a very successful and prosperous organization, right, to help women entrepreneurs in Africa. So in particular, the World Bank has several projects in Burundi, so hopefully we'll be in touch. Many of these projects involve supporting the entrepreneurship ecosystem, and there is a lot of work to do with women. Therefore, we look forward to being in touch. I send my best wishes to all the participants and all the powerful women that were part of this beautiful event, and I thank you again for the organization. All my best wishes from here.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Dr. Eric, you were the first in the room, so
I was truly trying to leave. I have a Black Business Expo meeting at 1 o'clock. Dr. Lotus, you know, it's
Yes.
at 1 o'clock, and I was looking at the time, and I was working to hold on. I would like to definitely say a powerful, powerful, powerful conference. You truly are a shining star in our universe of great people. And I just want to say to all of the people that worked on the behind the scenes, your team, they did an outstanding job, because it is truly hard when you have some speakers that don't show up, and then you have to move people around, and you're in the background making it happen, and people don't see the background, they only see the foreground. And then how you guys really brought home the message. I think the message was powerful. I think each one of the days had great speakers who spoke to the mission that you have. And then to end it all with a magazine that really shares where you're headed. And, this is, to me, I enjoyed it. I'm a super, super critiquer of events because I've been doing them for so long. But this one rates up there with the top events that I've ever gone to. And definitely, Lotus Richey, you did an outstanding job with your, as they say about me, with your Rolodex of speakers that you brought here. Your fingerprint was all over this particular conference. We all saw it. We all appreciated it. But more importantly, it gave everybody information from around the world. A lot of times we talk about doing things and they don't get done.
Right.
Today I was early and I said I'm here to welcome everybody. And what people didn't know was at 7 o'clock this morning I was speaking to a group and I was talking about procrastinating and not starting, and how the procrastination energy gets into people thinking about doing things, and it was a lively conversation I had this morning, and I was so hyped up until I went straight to this meeting and I began to say welcome to everybody that came on. And that to me, the energy that we started out with is the energy that we finish with. And I want to say to each and every one, thank you so very much for allowing me, as my mother always say, to share my energy with the great things that y'all are doing. And to everyone who's hitting me up on LinkedIn and I put my email, I believe I will put my email in the chat. So if you would like to reach out to us, reach out to me, you can. But more importantly, this is your day. Happy belated birthday. Happy belated birthday again. And keep up the good work, because your journey is your journey. I tell people all the time, if we connect, stay connected, because you never know where we're going to be. And it looks like your husband is here.
Yes.
Is it your husband? Hey, man, thank you very much for sharing her with us this last 3 days. We really appreciated her energy, and thank you so very much. And we look forward to whenever y'all come to the great United States of America, whenever you come to the great United States of America, that we all can be your humble servants. As I say to everybody, I am here to serve, and service is what gives us power. A lot of times people don't serve, and we're here to serve. And Dr. Richey, great job, great job, great job, great job. And to everybody else, I would mention everybody's name, but of course I probably would mispronounce some names. So I'm just going to say it in all one fell swoop. Thank you for your greatness. Thank you for your time. And thank you for today. And as I said, I'm 15 minutes from my show, for my meeting. And Richey will tell you, I don't like to be late, and I don't like to be late. So thank you for giving me a moment to even say goodbye. Because I was trying, like I said, I was trying to slip out of the back door. But thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lives today. And like I asked you before, when you get ready to start for next year, let me know. And I'll do all I can to help with what you're doing. Dr. Roche knows that I'm always on the left side because I'm a left-handed person. So if y'all need me to help, I'll be more than happy to help you to make this even more powerful, because our women need to stand up and do the work. And I talk about my grandmother, and I talk about my mother, who were my leaders in my life. And I know And people get mad with me when I say this, but the greatest being on the planet is the woman. The greatest leader on the planet is the woman. Unfortunately, men, we assist. They actually create life. So, with that being said, thank you so very much. Keep up the good work. And as I say, in the end, what you're looking for is looking for you. Bye bye until the next time.
Magda, thank you so much, Eric. It was really wonderful having you here. And yeah, welcome to Burundi again. Welcome back. And very soon we wish to meet you physically. And we are happy and also delighted for the great collaboration ahead. Thank you so much. Magda, can I
Yes,
hear
behind every powerful man, there is powerful woman. Yep, it's
Right.
because of Florence that we got have to know you. And again, thank you so much,
That's
Florence.
true.
Even though I was sick, you know, you
Yeah.
still gave me this opportunity to talk. And one more thing I was going to say again, thank you to everyone. And remember, anytime you use your device, any devices, think about Congo. Dr. Florence is already behind working on that, supporting Congo, and we're supporting each other. But think about Congo, because you are holding the future of women, of children, you know, in your hands. At least try to think about and help at least one child to save their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The message is clear. Yeah. Okay, Selena, you still there? Again, Lotus, you have something to say?
I am here, Selena. I'm sorry, I'm still packing to leave the island, but I want to say thank you to have allowed me to share this amazing platform with you and everyone involved. And I just want us to keep ourselves knowledge of feeling the feeling of love for the globe, for all of the things that are needed to happen to make transition and transformation, so that we are able to grab hands, hold hands, and create a rhythm across the globe for healing and making sure that the next generation and the generations before them are able to tap into those gifts that they have and to create a volume and a symphony, as I call it, in the key of oneness. Let's bring the fragmentations into a whole and create a whole universe, not a fragmented one. Thank you, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. Mr. Saguye, want to say something?
Oh, okay. I don't know where I can start by, but let me say good morning first, good afternoon, and good evening, depending from where you are. Uh, I want to say, first of all, thank you for everybody taking the time to participating in this summit organized by Landscape Burundi through the Sabbath Florence, who is my wife. And someone told that behind a big man supposed to be a big and powerful women. You are right, my dear Magda. You are right to say that. So, secondly, I want to congratulate and say thank you very much and very much again for the speakers for the rich, expose just as shared with everybody here during this summit. It was a first time participating in a big and powerful, meeting with big men and women is something which is supporting me somewhere, somehow, because uh, I saw during these 3 days that the world needs people like you, like big men and big women to build this world. And there is something very important to mention here is that the entrepreneurship is a key point to, let me say, to build, to support, and not only women but also men, because we are there as people to support each other in terms of, let me say, socially, politically, economically, why not? Diplomatically, and so on. So to resume my, my word, I am very happy to see you, to meet you through this platform. And I want to congratulate once again my dear heart wife, Florence. She's a powerful woman. I know before you know, but I want to mention that she's a beautiful one first, powerful the second, and I'm here to support her as my wife, as well as you who always taking time to be with her, to support her somewhere, somehow. I am very, very happy to see you, meaning that in near future, we really see once again or meeting once again through this platform. So thank you very much, and wish you all the best, especially for the speakers, especially for the speakers and notice. I appreciate you more, even if we didn't see each other. But make sure that I am just having you on my heart through Florence. So thank you very much to give me this small opportunity to express something. Thank you.
Great.
Whew.
Okay. This is really wonderful. We don't want to go away. We don't want to leave, but it's the beginning of a nice weekend. Enjoy your weekend, and yeah, we keep in touch. It's just a great start of a good collaboration, partnership. So it's already a platform, a family, a community. I'm not saying goodbye. Let me say see you
See you
next time.
again.
See you
See you
again.
later.
See you later.
Bye, Dr. Lotus. I'll talk to you.
Hi.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Recording stopped.
Foundation Lab First Annual Summit It's that time to grab your ticket to this amazing social entrepreneurship for economic empowerment event. Our summit sponsors and summit organizers look forward to seeing you at the event on the 27th through the 29th of October 2021 on Zoom. Our summit is going to focus on powerful social entrepreneurship as economic development policies, along with a host of other topics that is sure to knock your socks off. Our host, Dr. Florence Nzabwe, Dr. Lotus Richey, and Dr. Ralph Steele are delighted to see you there. Grab your virtual ticket today.